I'm not convinced I know how to read. I've just memorized a lot of words.
The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
True. All life ends in death, which we, as a species, are cursed with knowing, resulting in something. Again, this is really not my field.
It's the Al Travis Show. We've got him. Senator Rob Kupec, and I'm going to get on him on a whole bunch of stuff, but I got to first start. You can take the weatherman out of the studio, but you can't take what this man learned in the studio out of the weatherman. You literally white balance, as I'm talking, you're white balancing your computer camera. I didn't even know that was possible.
I just discovered it by accident one day because it looked terrible. And I'm like, that camera needs to be white balance. I wonder if you can do that. So, yeah. So if you're at home, you've got your camera looks terrible. You stick a white piece of paper in front of the thing and the computer automatically white balanced it. It's great.
Okay, we're going to get you back here with more electronic tips.
Yes.
You're not my tech guy. That was amazing. And for folks who didn't see it, you were blurry and kind of a purpley, pinky kind of a haze across the whole thing. And like that, it fixed it. So, wow. I'm impressed. Got it. I'm impressed, Kupec. I am really. And I presume you shared that with all of your Democratic Senate buddies.
I have just a couple, I don't know. It doesn't come up very often. Like, you want to stop somebody in the hall. Hey, you can white balance your camera. Like, what the heck is wrong with this guy?
I love it. All right. We'll do the soft stuff first. First week compared to the second. We had talked last week that it seemed like the two camps were set and this was done. Did we see any movement last week, since last year on, that there might be some working across the aisle, as we like to say?
I still feel like in the Senate, we had in Health and Human Services last week, we brought in the Office of the Legislative Auditor to hear her report on, it's one of the disability services programs that people had, and I think Republicans were very thankful of our chair that not a lot of other chairs have done this, and we need to know and hear that. And it was an illuminating report. I think I got one idea for some legislation that one of my Republican colleagues and I are definitely going to move forward on. Something we think we can make a fix that came out of that OLA report. So, at least in that committee, I felt like we had a little kumbaya moment. Not in a it was sobering news that we heard, but you need to hear that if you're going to fix things to make it go right.
Well, some of the weird stuff that came out last week that's sitting under my craw, and I'm asking you to fix it. So, what's her name? Shireen Gandhi. She was the interim commissioner.
She testified after the OLA.
Okay. So just using her, and I don't know her from Adam. You've obviously, maybe you do. You at least had her at your committee. This lady has been with the Department of Human Services since 2017. So we're talking going on 9 years. She was the assistant commissioner for years. She got the fill-in job for the last year. She sat in front of a committee and was told that, according to the OLA, that many people in her department were falsifying documents because they needed, whatever to cover their backside. And her answer was, wow, didn't know that. Now, we're sitting here being embarrassed nationwide about how we've been managing the fraud. What happens? The governor made her the commissioner now. Senator Kupec, if you wanted to show that you're trying to be serious about change, and I don't know her, I'm not trying to get her fired, but is that the move to move the next one up the line? Your thoughts? It sits under my craw. That's all.
All right. So here, I guess I'll take it from a slightly different perspective.
Please.
Who are you going to get to do that job?
Well, see, you're the second.
He's a lame duck governor. I don't know. I mean, seriously. I mean, I have.
You are the second person to say that on this show, and I want to rip my own eyeballs out. No, I get it. I want it part-time. I get off at 10. At 10 o'clock I'll do it online. I swear I'll get this place cleaned up. You just got to understand there's going to be a lot of people on the wayside out through my wake. No one else will take the job. That's.
No, I don't think somebody else probably would take the job. I'm just saying, I
get it.
he's, I don't know. He's just got,
But you're not looking for change if you do that. I guess my point is, if you want to show you're going to change stuff, you'd bring in some rough rider. I come in and clean up departments guy. I don't know if they have one there, but you get my point.
I do. Yeah, I get that point. I know. Yeah. I had a dad that was his job. He worked in Department of Corrections for years. He was the guy who went in and cleaned up places that were
folks don't know that.
Dad. I don't know.
Their radio station general, I shouldn't say this, but I will. Their radio station general managers, my 30 years, that their job, they came in and things were tightening up. You better not be wasting any of the toilet paper in the bathroom, better not be wasting any print copy paper. You better have your P's and Q's. That's what they did. 3 months here, 3 months there. They made radio stations better. Fingerprints. Yeah. Okay.
No. Now, so yes. I don't.
Okay, you're agreeing with me on another side, and I appreciate you for doing that. Now let's talk. The Optum report comes out, and the Optum report says basically if we followed our own rules, the stuff we made up, we'd save $1.7 billion. Now, this is where I go, if we're not going to follow the rules, what is Senator Kupec going to do? Make another rule we're not going to follow? That should tee you off. I mean, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because we make the rules, we appropriate the money, and when it's not, when it's not spent correctly, people were denied services who needed services, and absolutely, I mean that's, I don't know how you get to those people. We know that there are people that I don't know, that may have passed away because of they didn't get the services they needed, and it's super troubling. It is really,
So you sit there saying that we got another thing that you and a Republican can pass another law, but if the commissioner isn't making the people follow the rules anyway, you're just working hard for no good reason. That bothers me.
Well, this is the one in the report that really, besides all the other stuff, this one. All right, so there was somebody who worked at DHS who their job was to appropriate the grant. Yeah, and they appropriated a large grant.
$672,000. $672,000.
It was more than that. I remember what it was. What the amount was now.
Okay.
But that and a bunch of their subgrantees appropriated that and then left to go work for that
as a consultant.
Right. Yes. And so we have put in rules about electeds that we can't, magically. We have to take a little time before now we can move over into the world of lobbying and go to work. See. There's nothing in place for.
That's hard to believe.
Workers. Yeah,
that's hard to believe that has. Good for you. Right. Go get it. That is fantastic. If you appropriate a check to some company, you can't work for them for 3 years. I don't care what the number. You got to go. Good for
something. You. Even I don't know what the length has to be, but it can't be tomorrow. It could be longer than that.
And throw something in here like this. I would love to see that cat's taxes the next year. What did he get paid? He's going to start his own consulting company out of the $670,000 or whatever it was. How much did he make? Make $100K? What's it take for you to go from our side to the dark side?
I mean, because the rule. I mean, this is the thing, and I mean, most nonprofits, the people who run them and the people who work for them, they are not getting rich. They are doing this job because they want to help people, but there are exceptions to that rule. And because usually you would go, whoa, state worker in a higher position, like a person who's, I mean, this is not an entry level person. They're giving out the grant. They're up. They moved up the chain. Would think that's a better paying job with the benefits that we have for state workers than moving to the nonprofit.
Let me throw this out because I'm going to correct you. And you say most nonprofit workers are doing it, subpar. I believe that was true 15 years ago. I think if you look at the number of nonprofits, and I would just use the autism thing, where 500 autism centers were getting checks, and when we said you had to be licensed, 6 now have applied for that license, so there's 494 that just thought it wasn't worth the paperwork to get paid. I'm telling you, back in the day, I think you're right. But I don't know if today I believe that most nonprofits are strictly there for nonprofit. I think there's a lot of just we made it up stuff. Those 2 guys from Pennsylvania that flew into town, you know what I'm saying? I think there's a lot of that.
And I think, I think, I represent a place in greater Minnesota, in a smaller community. It is, I truly don't think it is the same way out in greater Minnesota.
Because you know why? Because we all know our neighbors. I agree with you 100%. You open up an autism center a block and a half from my office, I'm going to know you open it up, and I'm going to find out if kids go. We would just know because you know your neighbors.
Yeah.
That stuff you can hide in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah, even, and obviously, I'm in a larger metropolitan, our metropolitan area is 250,000, Fargo, Moorhead. But still, it still has a small town feel to it. You do. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I know the CCRI people of the world up my way, and I know, the Cap LP people, and there's a whole bunch of these other smaller ones, because when the non-payment stuff hit, they were like, And one of the other ones came. There's another thing, the same thing, where it says like you got to be licensed, and we're not. You have to have a licensed, like behavioral analyst on the thing, and a lot of these don't. And one of the guys from my area said, all you got to do is, do that, enforce that part of the law. I think Senator Rest passed that bill a long time ago. Like, well, let's enforce that. Yeah. So it is. It's
I get where you're coming from. I'm just saying I don't know that I think it's most anymore. I think back 15 years ago, it was probably 95%. We're all doing it right. I don't know that that's not closer to 50-50, but not necessarily.
In my world, I guess up in my world, it's, I come from the lens up there, and I'm looking out for my people. That's
why they say you live in God's country, my friend, because it's so nice. We got to go to break. We got more right after this with our Senator Rob Kupec.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect barbecue flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. Add it to your ribs, dip the meatballs, or drench your wings in the original flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. It isn't too hot or spicy, fruity or smoky or whatever. Grandpa's Barbecue. Available in select stores and online at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
Chanhassen Dinner Theatres proudly presents Guys and Dolls, packed with comedy, romance, dazzling dance numbers, and unforgettable characters. This Tony Award-winning Best Musical takes you from the gritty streets of New York to the colorful cafes of Havana. It's a high-rolling musical spectacular everyone will love. Don't wait. Visit chanhassendt.com and grab your tickets today. Guys and Dolls. Chanhassen Dinner Theatres, always entertaining you.
It's nice to know a guy that knows a guy. Al Travis.
No, and we love him. He's Senator Rob Kupec, and it's because you give me an honest answer, sir. You've been very forthright with me. The other thing last week that set me off, it's going to just be more of the same. Throw two things at it. You heard of the Mr. O'Malley, the program integrity director that the governor paid to come up with a 57-page report on how to fix it? He threw out his report last week. I don't know if you heard about it, but he really believes we should have an independent statewide monitor, the ISWA, which sounds a lot like an OIG to me, doesn't it? I mean, you guys passed that in the Senate. Didn't that sound a lot like an OIG?
Did sound a lot like an OIG.
It sure did. You can change the name, but it is what it is. Well, anyway, between that, the Optum report, and the Optum report, you were on that HX committee. Did you get the blacked out version?
No, no, we are, so there's human services and health and human services.
Right.
And our boundaries get a little nebulous sometimes, but that's more on the human services committee.
Right.
Yes.
So we have that human services will come out and it's all blacked out.
Yes.
And so the governor, who is taking this mighty serious, my friend, came out with his goals on how he's going to fix this with his last, whatever it is, 8 months. 18 proposals in there. A lot of, he needs you guys to raise the penalty for doing these things. You want much stronger enforcement, because I'm sitting here thinking to myself, yeah, if I'd steal from children, because it's only a 3-year penalty, I surely won't do it if it's 5. I don't know that any criminal actually thinks through that process, but go get them. I'm for it. Not one thing in that report said anything about how they were going to change what's happening internally, sir. Nothing with Department of Human Services. Nothing with if you sign up with some company and you give them $600K, you can't work from that. You guys come up with this stuff. His well thought out proposal had nothing to do with fixing what these people he's paying for said to fix. Am I wrong?
No, here, and it really, and this is the thing, is that I'm not sure that there is a legislative fix to what needs to be fixed. There's a management, that tone that's set at the top, and not every department within the state is this way. There's some of the commissioners I work with, I think they run really tight ships and they run good ones, but clearly a couple of these departments have a little bit of a culture issue, really.
A little bit. I'm with you all the way, sir. It's not a little. It's not a little. They need you.
I know. I'm being kind.
I
but
know.
It is seriously, and I, it is. You need somebody in that agency who's going to come in and shake up the culture and change.
So does that bother you when we wait for the week and he comes out with his report and it's like, let's lay it on you guys that you should come up with bigger laws that they're not, I felt you should be mad. I was mad for you.
We could do both. I mean, we could strengthen the law and, let's also do that. I mean, I mentioned, so I mentioned my dad before about him. He was the cleanup guy when he worked, he worked for various states for Department of Corrections. He went to Maryland to work at a prison down there where the inmates had keys. Because this was the culture that the guards were like, we trust a couple of these inmates. We'll give them keys and they can do our job. And so my dad, first rule,
man.
Inmates don't get keys. That was a new rule.
It's almost funny you'd have to have a rule like that in a prison. You know where they got that from, though? That was all Andy Griffith. Who was the drunk guy? Otis? When he'd show up and I can't go home. I'm too drunk. I'll just stay here. And they just give him the key. That's the Otis rule.
Yes. But I mean, this was not Mayberry. This was Maryland, and it was
that is too funny.
There were some criminals in there.
I shouldn't laugh so hard because this is. I appreciate you so much because this is the stuff that's rubbing me wrong. If for folks who didn't know, the Autism Center, they have some 500 of them, and you guys passed a rule that said you had to have somebody licensed to be on there. You got to get a license.
Right.
6 out of 500 applied. What were the other 494 doing, sir? It just proves the point.
Right. And it's not, there is this. So, we had that rule, and it should be, and that is to weed out some. Not to say that all of the other 494 that didn't have a licensed person weren't doing the work they were supposed to, but it is a way, like if you were a fly-by-nighter, You're not going to go, I got to run out and get a degree if I'm going to try to get in on some of this. That doesn't work that way. So it does. There are some probably those people legitimately doing the work, but it does weed out the bad actors. So the bad thing is that there probably some of those are doing legitimate work, and now they can't do it anymore because this is what we got to go to.
Folks are yelling because Al, you're the smaller government guy, and I am. But you got to have something there as a stopgap, and if that's just you got to go get licensed and prove I don't know what it is. I got to fly. I talk out of both sides of my mouth. It's what I do. Appreciate you, Senator. I really do. I always love having you on. He's Senator Rob Kupec on the Al Travis Show.
About it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled